the growth of your company is directly tied to your personal growth. And a simple question to ask is like, have you gotten better at anything? If the answer is no, your company is not growing.
Welcome to the Modern Founder and CEO podcast. We're here with Sreenath, Reddy with Intentwise. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
This is where we talk business strategy, leadership, and personal development. Love you just kind of start with your story. Kind of start from the beginning. Give us a kind of a high level. Who are you? Where you're from? How'd you get where we are here today?
Sounds good. I am Sreenath Reddy, currently founder CEO of Intentwise. I was born and raised in India, came to the US to go to grad school. So it's a while back, but I spent quite a bit of time primarily around data and online marketing. So prior to Intentwise, I ran the data and online marketing teams at a consumer internet company called Orbitz. Which then got bought.
Go
Yeah,
back a little further. You said
yeah.
you grew up
Yes.
in India.
Yes. Oh, you want me to go that far back? Sure. Uh,
Tell us a little bit more. How did you what was that like? How did you get here?
yeah, so my hometown is Hyderabad in South India. And so, went, finished my high school, knew I was a STEM focused kid at that point, and the way undergraduate education in India works is you write this exam and you get a rank. You're rank ordered, you get a rank. And then based on your rank, you pick to choose your spot after everyone ahead of you has chosen. So what ends up happening is a little different from my kid just went to college last fall, and I now know what the process looks like. So in places in the developed world, I think for the most part, you're making choices where you're really pursuing academic paths of your interest, and you spend your time trying to figure out what that is. But in places like India, that's not how it used to work, and it's getting better now. So again, you write a competitive exam, math, physics, chemistry, if you're going down the engineering path.
Is it similar to the grading system here, or very different?
Uh, it is, but it's like, you write an SAT or ACT, you get a score, right? Um, but there you get a rank, not the score. 100,000 people wrote, this is your rank among them, right?
Interesting. Yeah. So graded on a curve a little bit.
Yeah. And so it's like absolute number, right? And then after everyone ahead of you has chosen what they have chosen, whatever is left, you have to pick from that. Right? So
Okay.
anyway, I ended up with a option to go do civil engineering at a fairly good university. I went to IIT Madras, IIT Chennai for my undergraduate education. And at that point in time, it was more important to go to a great school than, and I had no clue what I was going to do anyway. So civil engineer is where I ended up. So that's where you start your 4-year degree, and that's where you end. There's not much wiggle
No
room of
changing up.
change. No, no. So ended up with a civil engineering degree. Um, and at that time, software was such a boom that there were so many software companies in India willing to hand a job to anyone, anything that moved. Okay. So, so the only time I used a computer before getting a software engineering job was to create a 1-page Word document of my resume. Okay. So I got handed a job. They trained me on programming for 6 months because that's how big of a demand there was worldwide, but certainly in India. So that's how I got into the software engineering racket.
When was this? Like what year?
This was 97, 96, 97.
Okay. I think I had our first like Apple IIe in my parents' office about 95, 96, right in there, just as it was kind of starting.
Yeah. My funny story with Apple is there was no Apple around us. Okay. You remember these first versions of Apple where you had to drag an icon into the trash for your floppy disk to pop out?
Yep. Yep.
So I come to grad school, I'm sitting in front of this Apple thing and put my little floppy disk in. I had some files, and I have no clue how to pop it back out. So
So you've come a
anyway,
long ways.
yes, we've come a long way. Yes, I see. Yes, yeah. But anyway, so I think civil engineering undergraduate degree, but just went right into software engineering. Spent a year doing that, then realized like, I should spend more time getting educated, apply to grad schools. I went to Stanford for my master's.
Okay. All right. So your undergraduate was in India, and then you went to
Yeah,
Stanford.
correct.
Okay.
Again, did some civil engineering and computer science combined. There were some combined programs there. Yeah, so that's how I got here. Um, and then since then, I mean, I've been in the software space, spent quite a bit of time working with a couple of companies, focused primarily on setting up point of sale systems in big retail companies, like, for example, Circuit City and Best Buy. And at that time, the most exciting use case was you order on the web and you pick it up in the store. That was a big, big deal. I know it doesn't make sense. The excitement won't make sense today, but that was a huge deal. Circuit City was one of the first companies to do that. So we enabled both their online systems and point of sale systems. That's a software company I was working for. Um, I did that for quite some time. Along the way, I had a couple of entrepreneurial stints. My first one was I a friend of mine and I decided to build a software company around helping contract manufacturers collaborate with OEMs better. Very specific use case. Cisco doesn't touch most of the products it sells. There's these contract manufacturers that make it for them. The But the interaction with them was so manual, and there would be a lot of issues, how many products to produce and what's the forecast and so on and so forth. We were building a collaborative software platform to enable that communication between OEMs and contract manufacturers.
And now,
We even yeah.
did you still have your career going at this point, or how did you make that leap?
A friend of mine just had domain expertise, and he needed someone that can, like a partner in crime that could get some technology built, and that's where we uh, join hands. And so I think the interesting thing with that experience was we actually raised some. Um, it was a seed round from a VC company in Austin. Okay. Problem was we raised capital from them in uh, 2000, late 2000, and by 2001 there was a complete market meltdown. So this is one of those situations where we literally gave money back, folded the company, and went back. I went back to what I was doing before, which is right. So um,
Now, was that tied to like 9/11, late 2021,
no,
or was this just an economic thing?
it was both. 9/11. Yeah, I mean, actually, 9/11 was an important factor. And economy as well was an issue. The clients we were talking to, we were turning around and saying, "Hey, we're trying to lay off people. We don't have budgets for this at the moment." And it was just very clear that this is going to be difficult. And so we decided to stop that at that point. Interesting experience, nevertheless, trying to raise capital from a VC firm, pitching to a bunch in Austin. But yeah, but then I went back and I was to my job, and I was in that job for quite some time. I was working for a company called 360 Commerce based out of Austin. And then somewhere along the way, I really wanted to go work for a consumer internet company because the scale of problems they have versus a traditional B2B software company is just very different, right? And so I got the opportunity to lead the data and online marketing teams at Orbitz. Um, and I took that job, and I was there for about almost 10 years.
Okay. So that's
Switch from uh, brick and mortar retail focus to consumer internet focus.
and when did you like I guess realize or start Intentwise? Like when did that happen?
So I was at Orbitz almost 10 years, I would say. I think the desire to be an entrepreneur was always there, and I think you know how things happen in your life where it was just a confluence of okay, my learning has tapped out here. It's time for me to go do something. That's when I stepped out to go. And Intentwise is like the third pivot from where I started. I was at Orbitz working with a bunch of hotels in terms of enabling online sales for them on the Orbitz platform. I had some ideas around helping hoteliers, but when it came down to it, and I started to engage with them in customer discovery calls, a they were all talking to me because I was at a brand called Orbitz, right? You step out, you're a nobody. So, good learning for whoever works for a big brand, right? Just be clear on what your value is versus the brand you work for. In any case, I think I was trying to build a business around helping hotels with digital marketing, a competitive space, and realized, maybe this is not where I want to go. I then accidentally got introduced to a bunch of local Chicago firms investing a lot of money in Google advertising. And one of the opportunities or problems I saw in managing Google Ads in my job at Orbitz was a lot of times consumers express an intent. You serve up Google Ads, and people click on the ads, and the experience that is delivered to them is not as relevant as what they searched. I'll give you a very specific example. You search for um, Chicago hotels near Wrigley Field on Google. You get a bunch of ads. Most of the ads, when you click on them, take you to a landing page that have nothing to do with Wrigley Field. It probably is happening even today.
It is.
And that's when we decided, you know what, there's an opportunity to optimize for intent. How do we mine search intent, help advertisers map that search intent to a relevant experience when they land on someone's site? That's where the name Intentwise came about. And then we started to help companies that have big Google ad spend get the relevance of experience right. But before I knew it, we kind of became a Google AdWords agency. We went in with this idea, but they want help with everything on Google Ads. So we went from 0 to about 15 clients. We had an agency business. I had brought on my co-founder, uh, a little bit early in that process to be able to build out tech as necessary. But we were an agency, but we did not have an agency DNA, right? It's just, and then coincidentally, we met a toy brand that we're pitching our service, and the CMO goes, I would love to work with you, but I'm moving all my money to Amazon ads. And at that, my immediate reaction at that time was, does Amazon do ads? I didn't know this. Shortening the story here, but like I ended up, me and a couple of members of my team ended up shadowing her team in her offices in a Chicago suburb for a month and a half, and really realized that there's a rocket ship about to launch.
Yeah.
And
Dan,
this space
did you shift your whole strategy at that point?
completely. We're like, okay, there's a need for a SaaS platform here. We raised some friends and family money. We started to build tech. We gave up the Google AdWords agency business. It was a difficult,
Changed.
yeah, completely, right? Like it was a difficult decision to make because there's cash flow and all that, but like there's no other way we're going to build proper tech. And that was another pivot into what is now the current avatar of Intentwise.
When was that?
So I would say this was 2018 is really
2018.
where this
Did
kind of took
and
shape.
did that take off? Like just had the headwinds and it just worked?
I think we were playing in a market that was just rising, right? So it's a rising tide. We are a little boat on that rising tide. We benefited a lot from that. So The demand was there. Of course, we were competing with two kinds of companies: companies that have raised a lot of VC money, or companies that is a bunch of ex-Amazoners, and we're completely new to that ecosystem, right? So it took us a little while to get a foothold, but the good news was the demand was there. We were not trying to go create a category. It was there, it is growing, everyone was interested, and it was a matter of us finding a place of our own and building an innovative product along the way. Um, and so, yes, I wouldn't say it was this rocket ship to begin with, but like we were in the right category is what became clear to us.
Yeah, and then 2020 hit, and did that accelerate things for you?
2020, March 15th, Amazon sales almost come to a like standstill, like their warehouses are having issues and this and that. We weren't quite sure where it's going to go. But then April first week onwards, things just took off, right, on online
For
marketing. So
everyone, we just sat home and ordered from Amazon.
that's right. So I think that, um, and then advertising spend started to take off as well, quite a bit. Um, but yeah, so COVID really certainly helped our segment quite a bit.
And you started with just you and a couple partners?
One, my CTO and co-founder, we're just two founders.
Okay. And then did you have to just start adding people at that point, or
Yeah,
how'd
I
the
mean,
team grow?
we took some friends and family money, built a lean engineering team. Um, and then as sales started to come in, we did have to figure out what is our go to market motion, right? It took some time for us to nail that. But as we there's a few things that were going on. One, we were acquiring new clients. Two, Amazon's own ad footprint in terms of tech capabilities was expanding too, so you had to keep up, right? So yeah, we started to expand our engineering team, customer success team, marketing, and then we started to toy with outbound sales. That is a fun experiment to get right always. But it was this flywheel of different things happening, and our size kept growing, right?
And
And
I'm
along
sure
the way,
not just revenue, but people too. You started building teams at that point.
yeah,
How many employees do you have now?
we are 75.
75. Okay. So you've kind of grown from being the founder, doing everything, to overseeing everything.
Yeah, and also we had to do it in the constraint of like we did not go raise institutional capital, right? So we had to be very methodical about how we did this. We didn't have the luxury to throw cash at experiments, but yeah, so we have grown steadily, I would say.
Yeah. Now, I guess tell us a little bit about your journey from, you're the CEO of a pretty decent sized team right now.
Yeah.
But you didn't start that way.
Mhm.
Like tell us about that path, what worked, what didn't.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'll start from the beginning or the inception, right? I think what I've noticed is that companies take up the DNA of the original founders, and sometimes the founders are salespeople, sometimes it's marketing people, sometimes it's product people, right? So I think we are a company founded by. I'd like to put myself. I'm a product guy, and my co-founder is a technologist. Okay, what that means is setting up engines that are good at sales and marketing was when we started completely unknown to us. Okay? We could build a great product, interact well with clients, and get those few to sign up and start using product, right? But I would say the entire go-to-market motion, how do we set that up, was I would say, huge learning experience for me. We don't have the cash to go hire a whole bunch of salespeople. So how do you do this? How do you set up a go-to-market motion that is efficient, especially if you're not raising institutional capital? It's probably the hardest thing there was to do, and I think we've learned a bunch of stuff along the way. I mean, the number one pivot I had to make personally is the idea of being vocal and visible in your ecosystem in a cost-effective way. How do you do that? And so the principle we stuck to was, look, Amazon is evolving. Every one of our prospective clients wants to get educated on what's new. How do you go about doing things right? It is also very data centric play, a part that played to my advantage in terms of career experience. So we took education as the number one marketing strategy. And I went about fighting my own mental hurdles about getting more and more visible in every platform there is, especially LinkedIn. So I went from having maybe 500 people and never posting on LinkedIn, never even logging into LinkedIn, to right now I have almost 12,000 followers. And I think, at least until last year, I had a top voice badge on LinkedIn. But that journey in making the mental switch and doing something that is incredibly uncomfortable personally, right? Was certainly one, a learning experience, and it showed in what has happened to the business. We have a significant portion of business even today is inbound, and a lot of it is tied to the educational content we put out.
And are you the face of that? Like, have you kind of
Yeah, I
become
mean,
that
so
front
far,
outlooking face?
yeah, so far, but there's other folks that are stepping into that role, and so I think, yeah, that I would say, I had a neighbor in Chicago when I first founded this. She was a 77, 78-year-old woman at that time, back in 2018, 2019. She's retired. She's a single person, retired. So she would just hop into our house, sit at our dinner table. We would chat about anything and everything for an hour, 2 hours. So it was that type of relationship. Extremely successful entrepreneur. And she built one of the largest pharmacy staffing businesses in our times. Right. And she would come and I say, Sreenath, what are you up to? Okay. How's business going? And then she would drop in these pearls of wisdom every now and then. Right? And one of the things she said was, the growth of your company is directly tied to your personal growth. And a simple question to ask is like, have you gotten better at anything? If the answer is no, your company is not growing.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. I thought that was very sound advice. So I've learned quickly that you just need to get into these uncomfortable situations. That's the only way both you and the company is going to grow.
And I mean, leading a team of 77 people, what are the challenges you see there? What works, what doesn't?
Yeah. I think for the way we have gone about building the team, we have understood how we have committed to a certain DNA in the company, right? Which is, it doesn't matter what your backgrounds are. We are operating in spaces that are moving really fast, so there has to be learning agility. But what form does that take? So it's curiosity, right? Asking a ton of questions about anything and everything on a regular basis. It's a learning discipline, like be tinkering about with things so that you keep learning every day. And intellectual honesty, right? Which is, your stuff is not working. Like, we don't have to hide behind layers. Uh, Own up and have an ownership mindset, right? So the people part, it's actually not, in my opinion, hiring and growing a team is not where you can do that, but doing it while maintaining these principles is one of the hardest things.
Yeah, and as an EOS implementer, those are core values to us. Like, they get really clear on what they are: curiosity, learning, honesty, ownership, mentality. Like, if you can keep that DNA throughout the organization and be able to get people out when they don't fit that, like that's the glue that ultimately keeps you together.
I also, we have functional roles, right? There's a sales head and there's a marketing head and all of that. Our philosophy still remains like, you don't have to have been the most amazing marketer in your previous life to land that job. And the reason why is because the contexts are so different. In fact, oftentimes it's a handicap. You come in with some previous recipes. You don't want to get away from them. You don't evolve, and those just do not work in our context. So I much rather have somebody that has learning agility versus a whole bunch of predefined notions of how things need to be done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Now
so,
you kind of gave the wisdom of have you gotten better lately, and like what are you doing as a leader to grow? What have you done? Like real practical, like real stuff. How are you growing? How are you being intentional about that?
good question. Number one, given where I sit, I just think that 70% of the problem constructs I run into, I don't have a solution for. Okay, like it's new. I mean, I could go do A, I could go do B. I have an instinct on this. So that's where you end up as a founder. So I have, fortunately, a great network of people that I'm always tapping into and asking them what would they do. So certainly I'm benefiting from some collective wisdom around me. So that has been helpful. Number two is I'm personally very technical and I tinker like all this AI stuff. Like I'm in it all the time. I use, for example, Claude Cowork. Sit and try to extract value out of almost everything I do, leveraging these things so that I know how this stuff works. And my co-founder is the same way. Um, that way, like even when you speak about these matters to your client base or the industry, it is coming from a place of doing and learning versus reading and learning. you know, it's different. So I'm very hands on with a lot of stuff that happens. So that's another way that I keep up to speed. So I would say um, those two are certainly two tactics, and the third one is anyone who works for me knows I just have a lot of questions for them. Not about whether they're doing a great job or not. It's just okay, their perspective. Like, what do they see? Well, why is a competitor better than us? Like, why do you think that? How do you solve this? What would you do differently? So I'm just constantly asking just for my own awareness.
Yeah. No, those are really good. What's AI doing in your industry, in your company, with your people, with your teams, with you? Like, you got to ask this. This is the kind of the elephant in the room.
Look, I would say we are the classic SaaS business before Gen AI took hold, right? That's the business we are. And I think for us, there is three foundational ways it has an impact. One is operationally. I'll give you a simple example. We have customer success folks, right? They talk to clients. As a founder, I have no understanding of what the quality of those conversations are. Are those conversations going well? What are we learning? Are we learning about competition? Is a particular client at a churn risk? I would have no clue because it's all caught in transcripts, which is all digital waste, digital exhaust, right? But now we set up a process where we have AI absorbing all that, automatically flagging for us what conversations are signaling churn, what conversations are product feedback, what are we learning about competition. We built an entire system internally to have a real deep pulse on our customer off of assets, like, for example, transcripts that would otherwise go waste. So that's an example of operational improvement. Every nook and corner we are going to deploy, uh, AI capabilities to improve us operationally. That's one. Number two is for us engineering development cycles from all the way from design to development. Software development is the number one best use case that AI has figured out so far, right? So we have that in play. We've certainly seen massive productivity changes. So that's the second layer, and the third layer in our products themselves. Right? Um, for the benefit of the audience, if in case you don't know what Intentwise does, the way I describe what we do is, if you shop on Amazon, you're buying a product, and I'm a brand selling that product on Amazon. My sales could be going up and down for a number of factors that you don't even control. For example, some reseller is selling it at a lower price, or Amazon decided to suppress your ad, or Walmart changed price on your product and Amazon price matched, and it thinks it can't make money and it'll suppress the product. the number of reasons is vast, and as a brand, uh, I have a hard time trying to figure out what is driving my sales. Intentwise is a platform that is unifying all those signals for people to understand a what is happening to performance to their products, and if the performance is down, why, and what should they do next. So we think of ourselves as a commerce observability platform. Now, think about an autonomous agent monitoring a product all the time, telling the brand when something is wrong or something is right with the product and what should they do next. That is one of many use cases we are deploying AI around. So yeah, three layers: operational efficiency, day-to-day development, and end-user-facing products are the three layers at which we are thinking about AI. And from a SaaS perspective, fundamental changes in the economics. Cost of development, way down. Cost of serving a product to a customer, way up. Gross margins are lower if people are using your AI products and behind the scenes you're calling LLMs and sending tokens back and forth. Right?
Hmm.
So it just fundamentally changes how we have thought about this model. Go to market was always important, but it is now even more important because you can assume that a lot of folks can produce the product you have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be challenging. Um, yeah, those are all powerful. I'd love to kind of really look out to the future. Like, what's your vision for the company? What do you see? Like, paint that picture for us.
The way we see it is, and I go back to brands that sell on all these channels, they're all they're asking the same fundamental question in any business: how do I grow, how do I differentiate, how do I maintain profitability? Those three factors are dependent on so many signals across all these platforms. We want to be a place that unifies those signals and helps brands answer these three questions very quickly with a lot of agility, because if they're able to do that, that is their competitive differentiation. So that's what we want to do. And when I say channels, it's not one or two, it's Amazon, Walmart, Target, Shopify. You can go on, and there's emerging channels like TikTok. So we want to be the foundation that unifies all the signals from these platforms from a brand's perspective and give them the ultimate observability of what is happening to their business. So that's where we want to go. We are on that journey. There's a lot of work ahead. But I think AI for us is a huge enabler of that. So we are not threatened by it. We are actually excited by it. And there's a lot to be done.
Awesome. Well, Sreenath, it's been a really good chatting with you, learning a little bit about your story and what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.